All three religions have extremes. It claims not only the right, but an imperative to kill those that fail to live up to their perceptions of God's words. After all, how many times have two religions gone to war over this exact thing? After all, if only you know God's words, then everyone else must be wrong, even though you also claim God's created all, including each of us. However, it is not far off from less extreme in the three religions, an assumption that their faith gives them the right to preach and pressure, even advise others to hide who they are, even though God created them as they are. I hear often some claim that we don't teach hate whenever a tragedy happens, and I argue we do. We may never imagine that anyone would embrace killing any that fails to live up to your perception of God's standards. While you might believe God will punish eventually, even if not on earth, and that's fine. Others lack the strength of that conviction and will feel threatened when they see others thriving, loving their lives as God created them to be. You offer certainty that you do those things and God will be there to reward you. Those exercising God's gift of free will do not believe God is a straitjacket, that He is a punishing God. It is a threat to everything you've ever been taught, and that they are happy and maybe thriving is even more a threat. Those less extreme will only say words of intolerance, judge based only on appearances. They will mumble in private in front of kids these things. You might even say that God will punish you, and yet they thrive on earth. That fails to understand human nature. Kids have eyes as well as ears, and while you say many things, you do teach by actions. Youth are just beginning to learn independence. Add liquor and drugs that further inhibits their decisions. Is it any surprise that tragedy you'd never imagine happens? Yet the seeds were planted by you all the same. Family, friends, religion, in short. A groupthink that says much that is right and shows hate all too clear by their actions. Your lack of unconditional love cannot help but force many who lack the strength to stand on their own and want acceptance to try and conform and deny themselves. You might arrogantly offer that you're not responsible. It was their lifestyle, that Satan is why, and that they did not love God enough. Some, with strength, will realize no matter how they try, they can never earn your acceptance, so instead do their best to offend you even more, making it even harder for those weaker who just want to be accepted, not to change the world, but to be themselves. They are still desperate for the unconditional love you say you offer to your child before puberty. Why do you think people commit suicide after all? Wouldn't it be surrender to the reality they will never be acceptable? No matter how hard they try and ignore who they are, it will never be enough. They can't hide. They can't be on guard 24 hours a day. God did not drive them to suicide. Your lack of unconditional love and insistence that you have the right to interpret God's wishes, isn't that also a sin? Isn't it said pride goes before a fall? Your pride, your arrogance has led you to believe you have the right to play God, to judge others. You claim God is a loving God, that He is all-powerful, that He created all. Yet you arrogantly decide that He couldn't possibly have wanted gays to be the way they are. You teach God gave free will, and yet insist there is only one path. You do not care that all of this implies your God must be paranoid, schizophrenic. To reconcile this, you have created hell. Satan, in short. So the fault is not God's, and it is not yours. You created an equal to God, a place that even God has no jurisdiction over. At all levels, it is your arrogance that is creating the distance between God's plan and your desires and wishes. It is your need to be right, to be sure, to have no doubt. Yet God does not offer certainty, and to gain certainty, you must give up free will. That is a choice. So you have exercised your free will by giving it away. Any bad that happens is not God's fault. It is yours. Yet you will never accept the blame. You will never face the mirror. Never face that you are abandoning God's gift. Have created the only hell there is on earth. All the way, it is your failure. Consider this. Didn't Jesus offer what some call the 11th commandment of love? Did Jesus not say, "Let he without sin throw the first stone"? You can only have it both ways by creating an equal to God. Your actions diminish God far more than my love ever could, and hearing this, you will be angry and refuse to accept. The argument is sound. I refuse to believe God is paranoid schizophrenic, that he has limits. I will not tell you you should be anything other than who you are. I'm willing to accept the consequences when I die, but I don't think I should be forced to die or killed because of a threat to your belief system. All I ask is just be strong enough in your beliefs that mine are not a threat to you. Can you do that? My name is Eric Aust. I am gay. I'm not asking for your acceptance, tolerance. You do not need to love me or ever talk to me. I can tolerate your scorn. Your words will not hurt me. All I ask is you have the convictions of your beliefs. Be strong enough in what you believe that my life, my thoughts, are not a threat to yours. Let me be punished or accepted by God. I'm willing to be judged for who I am. I will not give up free will to others for a promise of a pat on the head and a reward. If I'm to be condemned, let it be God that judges. Let him decide if I live up to be the person he created. I'll do the same for you. You need to do nothing, and that should be easy enough in today's society.